Hi, and welcome to the live stream. Let me just see that I am actually live on different channels, looking good on my restream. I hope that will then head over to Facebook and Periscope and on YouTube. Hi everyone, my name is Nico Luhmann. I am the educationist, and this is my weekly live stream where I will address some of the topics that are contemporary to me. And right now, what I would love to do is to chat a little bit with you about developing assessment capable learners. My last week live stream was about how can we ensure that we're supporting students during this time of remote learning, and how can we have authentic assessment. Now, that led to another video post for myself, which was really about how can we give students the skills, the tools to start doing start documenting and evidencing their learning. And this then pointed me towards thinking about different types of learners and what those learners should be doing, and how can we help them, how can we make sure that those students have what it takes when we want them to start creating an environment where they can actually set goals, where they can actually self-assess them. And a lot of the time, we teachers seem to take for granted that these are skills that students are born with, and I disagree. I think that this needs, in a very similar way as we would look at when we're teaching children to read, the very similar way we should have a continuum of seeing where do we begin and where do we want to go. So really using that understanding by design, backwards by design ideas, and seeing, so what do we want students to be able to do? What does it mean to be an assessment capable learner? And what are the steps, what are the skills that they need to build to go further and to be able to really start to become thinkers of their own learning, so that they really would start thinking about their thinking. And couple of ideas ran into my mind. So here is the learning challenge, where wherever we are going to start learning something new, we kind of go into that learning, into the pit. We fall into the pit, and then we'll struggle our way up. And how are we supporting this process where students struggle? How are we building those different skills for them so that they can become assessment capable? Now, something that I learned, something that I learned 2 days ago, I think that was it, or a couple of days ago, was a wonderful part of discussions that I saw it was a total talk recording, and then yeah, Uni put it up on her Twitter, and then I think was Trev McKenzie who answered it with this continuum of assessments. And I think if I'm quoting Uni correctly, she wrote down, whoever is doing the assessing is doing the learning as well. And so here we have this sort of a continuum that starts from teacher leads the assessment from the right and goes all the way then to the other end of the scale where the child leads the assessment. And so if we look at standardized testing, what skills do the kids need to have to be able to take control? Well, none really. They are focusing on answering questions that someone else is posing on a situation where they do not have a voice, nor do they have a choice to do anything. We move on to a teacher designed tasks and tests, and these are by far way more effective by Dylan Williams. Welcome to the or managing the black box, and or being inside the black box. And so when we're looking, and also from Hattie's research, we know that when teachers design tasks and tests, they are more effective than the ones that are created or already made by the curriculum provider. But still, at this point, the student is a performer rather than a creator of part of that testing. We go to a bit more flexible situation with teacher observations and questionings. And then when we start looking at concept mapping, portfolio assessments, conferencing, and self-assessment, this is where we also start realizing that these students need skills. And what types of skills do they need? So from concept mapping forward, it becomes that no longer is the child, the student, the learner trying to guess what the teacher wants. But from here on, now the learning should be the main focus. The learning and the understanding of these concepts and creating those aha moments should be the intrinsic motivation that drives the student learning. And students aren't ready to do this right off the bat. So how can we scaffold these students? How can we teach and support and engage these students into these wonderful learning engagements that will then take them towards that sort of learning that we are looking for? And there are a couple of ideas. How can we get them out from that learning pit? And one part which I found was wonderful resource that came out through this picture. So this is from I think from Missouri Educational System and Systems and Instruction for Learning, and they have a complete course for their in-service teachers of developing assessment capable learners, and they actually use the acronym ACL for this. And it starts off by defining who are the students. Well, they are the ones who know what they're learning. They can describe where they are in relation to a success criteria, and they can use the information to select learning strategies to improve their work. So it's not about how well they are performing in a test. So we're not interested in well, we are interested, but we're not interested in the test results per se. We are interested that the students are able to actually take their learning further, so that they are using the tools that they have about their learning. And this changes that whole idea. It changes the dynamics over to students, because when students know where they are and they know where they are going, they can close that gap in the middle, because they understand what they are supposed to learn. So they're no longer guessing about what they are learning. They're no longer trying to somehow understand what the teacher wants, but they can focus on actually to monitor their own progress. They can actually focus on looking at what their goals are. They can set those goals, and then they are able to move further with that. And one tool that I found that helps this immensely in the PYP is the Solo taxonomy. Now, Solo taxonomy is in the teacher support material, and if you are on Twitter, please follow Michael Hughes, who has done an amazing job of creating step-by-step instructions of how to take that knowledge construction taxonomy and bring it inside the PYP planning process. And with that, when you are utilizing a framework to construct knowledge, what you're enabling students to take control of the process. So therefore, you are scaffolding the strategies that they're working, but you are not compromising the content. You're not compromising your learning goals and targets. So what you're doing is that when you are scaffolding the process, you are scaffolding the strategies and the ways of how the student is going to access the curriculum in a best possible manner. So where will this lead us? Well, it will lead you to an understanding. So once we know what the assessment capable learners, what they look like, well, then we can create our own assessment policy. And this is from Victoria in Australia, and it is the school is an acronym, ASPS, Assessment Policy, and this is a marvel. I stumbled upon this, and it has been something of a miracle that it is just a wonderful way of looking at what an assessment policy that supports the primary years program understanding of the enhanced PYP, what it could look like. And the very first thing that this policy looks at is that it looks at what are assessment capable learners and assessment capable teachers. So students become effective self-regulated learners when they are actively engaged in assessment and act on constructive feedback. This helps them reflect on their progress, set goals for their learning, and engage them in making decisions about what they need to do to achieve these goals. So that is the goal. Now we have a set marker of what we want our students to be. In the possibly, I think this would be then the end of the primary years program. We can say that our students are assessment capable learners, and all of our grade 5, year 6 students are able to do this. That is our goal. And so how do we get there? Now this school is approaching it by looking at who is doing the assessment. They're looking at when a teacher is providing these opportunities for students, then what is the role of that assessment capable student? When we go in further, the school is looking, well, how is that happening? And we know that then we are looking from Dillon-Williams formative assessments, and that links with the PYP's new understanding of documenting and evidencing learning. And we look at what are we assessing, that we have to assess the conceptual understandings, we are assessing the knowledge, and we are assessing the skills. Now, one of the things, the criticisms that I usually hear and raise myself for PYP is that there isn't enough rigor in that assessment. How can we make sure that the assessment is really enabling our students to reach higher? And so what is the product of learning we are aiming to evaluate, and where are we making sure that it's extending that student's learning? Now, using something like the Solow taxonomy makes sure that that knowledge and those skills are going to be addressed as we go from surface level knowledge into deeper understandings and deeper knowledge. So that is where Solow taxonomy will help us immensely. And then we're looking for that documentation. So where is monitoring, documenting, measuring, and reporting happening? So we can have a portfolio where that is happening. So how can we make so that that idea that we saw from previous that the students are able to lead their portfolio build up, that they're able to add those goals into that portfolio themselves? Well, one thing, and where does reporting stand in this process? Well, one thing what we can say is that we definitely want to make sure that this is happening, so that this is definitely going to go in the way of that self-assessment and conferencing and portfolio building, so that the student takes the lead on that. So what can they do? And that was part of what I was talking about in my previous video that I published today called Empower Your Students, Documenting Learning and those ICT skills for life. Now, from the get-go, what we need to do is that we need to start from small steps. We need to make sure that when we are empowering our students, what it means that we are providing them with skills that they can practice, that those skills are practiced and scaffolded, so that we first learn how we're documenting, what kind of evidence are we looking, and then we take the next step. We start reflecting on what is that evidence that we just got. How is it something worthwhile? Why did we take that picture? Why did we record that video? And how is it going to show our learning and our understanding something new, something that I can do well, or something that is worth sharing with everyone? So those were just a few of my ideas about how we can take this further. So one idea is to build up really a scaffold, like a continuum, where you are looking at what are the specific skills, how do you want the students to be able to take the lead in student-led conferences. What is a student-led conference in grade 1 going to look like? How is that going to be different than in grade 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so forth? So these are the discussions that you need to do with your colleagues and with your PYP coordinators, so that when you have this common understanding of how students should be empowered, then it's easier for all of us to look at the ATL skills and build them with and embed them into the best practice teaching of your units of inquiry. So thank you for watching. It's always fun to be able to share my ideas with all of you, and with also with an audience, so that it makes really this live streaming worthwhile. Now, please do leave a comment, leave a question if you have any wishes about topics for weeks to come. I'm more than happy to tackle ideas and challenges on the way. And please let me know within that comment box. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure that you click that like button or subscribe, so that you know next time when I'm live. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, leave a comment for me, and I know then to address some of the questions that you might have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next week.